Hello, knockouts. Tanya TKO here. And I'm in the middle of working and I decided to stop and make this impromptu video because my heart is very heavy and I need to get this off my chest and I don't really know who to talk to because it's so involved. You know, I wrote in my journal about it. I told other people in my private life about it, but for some reason the feeling is still heavy, so I wanted to just put it out there to you all, and I'm hoping that in saying this, maybe I can get back some ideas about something that can help me come to terms with a very troubling and startling truth that I've just been recently made aware of. And it may seem arbitrary, but see, this is part of the reason that I suggest that everybody get a journal. Because sometimes a problem can seem small. Like there can be one little small problem, but there's so many different things that are contingent or outlying on that problem that actually makes the problem more complex, right? My problem right now is I need to go to the dentist, right? And I can't sleep at night because I'm distraught and concerned about this. Now, number one, let me just say, last year one of my fillings fell out. I was eating, and then I felt this crunch in my mouth, and a part of my filling tooth, whatever, had broken off and into my mouth, and I was like, okay, I really need to get this taken care of, right? But part of the reason that I didn't get it taken care of immediately is because I've been traumatized as a child going to the dentist. And some of you may even see when I'm talking in my videos, like if you look in my mouth, like all of those amalgam, what they are calling silver fillings, which is, according to what I've heard, tremendously poisonous, etc. But as you see, they're everywhere, destroyed. My teeth. It's been like that since I was since I was a child. And so basically, what would happen is I would, I think children, they say, because of the composition of children's teeth and the enamel, etc., children are more susceptible to cavities than adults are. So as a child, I would get these little cavities or brown spots on my tooth or whatever, so my mom would take me to the dentist, and they weren't and then I found out later in life, after doing some reading, that some of those are not even, they're not even cavities. Like a cavity is like a hole in the tooth, but what these people would do is they would drill out the entire inside of my tooth. They would drill it out. They would handle me rough. I'd have fragments of tooth flying all around in my mouth. They would treat me with such, disrespect. They would treat me like a little animal, right? It was like, it was embarrassing, and to be handled like that, as a child. Like one dentist even drilled into my mouth. He drilled into my cheek and was like, oh yeah, 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 and kind of just, told me to shut up or whatever. And like one dentist was working. It's like they those big needles, stabbing them into your gums. One time the whatchamacallit, the numbing agent didn't take full effect, and I'm a child and I could feel the pain, and they're telling me that I don't feel pain that I'm feeling. And I'm like, I had to start screaming and crying in the I'm sorry, give me one second. I had to start I had to start screaming and crying in the chair so that they would stop it and give me another shot. And so, it's like just and then what happened that's adding such insult to injury is I found this really great dentist. Some of you who are on my social media pages, I went and I had, and all of the stuff that they did to my teeth on the top and the bottom has left them so it has left them so fragile that sometimes the whole filling, and you see how big they are, and they're coming in on both sides. And I tried to have them removed years ago, but they were like, there's so much amalgam in there that they would have to extract the entire tooth. Because after I found out that amalgam, that the silver filling is poisonous, I wanted to have them removed. And they did x-rays of my teeth, and they packed so much inside there that the whole entire body of the tooth is just filled with this amalgam. They drilled out the whole entire thing, and it's just like, just cusps of it laying around it. And so they're like, we'd have to extract all of your teeth from the back. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's what I need to do, because part of the big problem is right now, so I found this really great dentist because I had to have a tooth extracted last year. And well, 2 years ago, I had to have a tooth extracted. And so it was an amazing experience. It was nothing like what I had been used to. Like one time when I was a child, when I was a teenager, I had to get a tooth extracted. And there were like people holding me down in a chair, and the dentist was like pulling with these pliers, and my tooth broke in my mouth. And then and because it broke, they had to like dig up into my gums to try to pull out the rest of it. And it was an excruciating, it was a horrifying experience. Imagine people holding you down in a chair so that a dentist can lean in there and start ripping and pulling and hold so hard that he cracks the tooth inside your mouth, and you got fragments of tooth bits falling down inside your throat, choking you, because the natural reflex is to gag when something hits the back of your throat. And so tooth bits are hitting the back of my throat. I'm gagging in the chair, and this dentist is still steady pulling and pulling. It was horrifying. So last year, one of my fillings, I'm just eating, and because, like I said, the tooth is just so, the teeth are just so loosely wrapped, or just so thinly wrapped around the amalgam, that, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying amalgam right, amalgam, I'm not even sure of the right word, the silver filling, I'll just call it, but it's not silver. Silver filling just makes it sound so much better. So I'm just eating, the whole filling, just the part of the tooth just falls out with the filling, just like that. And so I'm like, okay, I have to go to the dentist, right? And I found, like I said, I had this really great dentist that I wanted to go to. But there was still a portion of me that was afraid, not so much of the dentist, because the dentist was really kind and gentle, etc. But that sound of the drill, that, and that suction thing that they have, the suction thing, and just the smell of the tooth, the burning tooth from the drilling, just all of that just had me, I don't know, I was shook, and I didn't want to go, but I was afraid that it would get to the point that it would start to hurt before I went. So I didn't want it to get to the point, because teeth are one thing that they'll get your attention. It's like you can't get around tooth pain, right? It's like, that's one thing, like, and then what ended up happening is, like, New Year's Eve, I was laughing outside, it was really cold. I was laughing, and like a little bit of the cold air hit my tooth area, and I felt like some sensitivity to the cold. So I was like, yeah, I really need to get on top of this and stay on top of this. So I was like, okay, so so I contacted the dentist, and I was talking to him about which health insurance he takes or whatever. And the ones that I was looking at, because with the whole Universal Health Care Act, etc., aka Obamacare, I was trying to figure out which one to get, but I wanted to get one that he took, and so he really didn't take any of the ones that I was looking at. So I continued to look, and I admit I've been meaning, and some of the plans were a little confusing, but I understand them now. But so basically, I was like talking to him about it, and he was like, no, I don't take that, I don't take this, I don't take that, and I really wanted to go to him, right? So I went to go see him yesterday, right? Because I'm like, I might as well take care of this before the tooth starts hurting, because I would say like 2 or 3 nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had like this dream, or like this vision, that half of my jaw was falling down my throat, like the same feeling I had when when the tooth fragments were hitting back there. I woke up from this nightmare that my jaw had broken off, like half of my jaw had broken off and was falling down my throat. So I was like, oh my God. So I woke up in the middle of the night because I was like, I felt like I was being suffocated by my jaw falling back into my throat. So I'm like, I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I got to take care of this tooth before the tooth becomes a problem, because I'm like this, So I went, I did an online appointment and all this other stuff. And then I was like, okay. So I went the very next morning, I went to the dentist, which was yesterday. And so I get there, I get in, they do an x-ray of my tooth. The dentist comes in and the dentist is like, okay, you're going to need a root canal and a crown. So this is what he tells me. So I'm like, okay, so here I am, I'm thinking, you know, I haven't signed up for the Universal Health Care Act, so, you know, and the Universal Health Care Act would have been anywhere from $200 to $400 a month. So I'm like, okay, well, sorry, it's my phone. I need to turn down the volume. Give me 1 second. So I'm like, okay, well, the Universal Health Care plan would have been about $200 to $400 a month. So I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, maybe the tooth would be about $500 or so. Right? Maybe I'm like at the high end, because I'm like, to get an extraction is $300. Maybe to get the filling, I thought maybe all I needed was a filling or something on there. But he's like talking about, oh, how he might have to save, he wants to save my tooth, and it might be very difficult to save it, but you know, he's an expert and he's going to do what he needs to do to save it, blah, blah, blah. So he tells me, because I'm like, I don't have insurance, so I wanted to know how much it was going to cost. And he's like, they can get started on it right away yesterday. This man comes back and tells me that to do the root canal and get the crown is $3,300. So I'm like, $3,000 for one tooth, right? And I'm like, this is, I'm like, I told him, I was like, I thought that this would have been, I was like, I thought this would have been maybe about $500. And he was like, oh no, you must have thought this was the Middle Ages. He was like, we haven't had prices like that since the Middle Ages, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't have that type of money. I was like, I don't have that for a tooth. So he's like, well, there's really nothing that I can do for you then. And I was like, so I don't even, you know what, the whole conversation becomes a blur at this moment. But he was like, because I was like, are you sure it needs a crown? Is there any other solution? This, that, and the other. And he's like, no, that's what it needs. Look, I'm trying to save your tooth. You should have come in sooner, blah, blah, blah. Right? And you know what the crazy part about it is? After it fell out, immediately, the moment that it fell out, I had contacted him. And I was like, my feeling just came out. I need to come in ASAP. And he was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. Just come in when you can. You know, it's no big deal or no big problem. So I'm coming in. And I'm like, well, you told me it was come in when I can. And he was like, not 2 years later. And I'm like, well, I didn't realize that. I didn't realize. Well, listen, I already have fear anyway. So telling me to wait just only help me, whatchamacallit. Are you looking for something to do?
I didn't want to.
Oh no, that's fine. You can probably just label boxes or something. You go ahead and do that. Don't worry. I'm gonna be telling this story for about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
No, go for it. No, go for it. Yeah, just put labels on boxes, and I'm gonna print up the invoices for today, and then we'll start working on that. All right. So anyway, do you remember what part I was up to?
After you told them about the $500, and he told
No, I was way past that part.
Oh, well, then I stopped.
I think I had already gone past the Middle Ages part. So anyway, what part was I up to? I was talking about the oh yeah, how I contacted him, and he was like, oh, don't worry about it. He's like, oh, I didn't mean come in 2 years later. But I mean, I already have a fear of dentists. So all of this just really boils back down to, oh, after he was like, well, you know, there's nothing that I can do for you, because I didn't have that type of money. And so he was like, he escorts me back out. Actually, he doesn't even escort me. He tells one of the other girls to walk me out. And then so they walk me out, and the person is like, okay, well, that's $115. Mind you, I was there for less than 5 minutes. less than 5 minutes. I would, you know, sometimes time seems like less when things move by quickly. So I would say 15 minutes max I was there. They took one photo of my tooth. The dentist came in, told me about how much it would cost, and then tossed me out like I was garbage. And I was like, this is the same dentist that I thought was so nice, etc., etc. But the thing is that he really does have a great, amazing way with teeth. And so I really wanted to see, I really wanted to see him. But now it has me just wondering about everything, because it was like, he told me that I could apply for some sort of dental credit to be able to cover the $3,500, well, the $3,300. And so I was like, because I'm like, I was distraught, because I'm like, the last thing I want is for this tooth to start causing me pain, because I'm already having sensitivity to the cold. So I go in my moment of weakness, I go to fill out for this credit application, right? So I could get the tooth. Meanwhile, I'm like, isn't it crazy? I'm like, because an associate of mine just told me that she wants to get like some stem cell spinal treatment done, because she's not able to walk, so she wants to get some stem cell spinal treatment done, and it's $8,000 for that. My myomectomy was $12,000. I mean, the complications brought it way up above 30,000. But the original myomectomy was, and that's another thing, who knows how much things will start costing after you get into it. The original myomectomy with 4 hours of anesthesia was $12,000. You know, and so it was either 12 or 20, something like that. But a tooth and the root canal plus a cap is $3,300. And then I just started thinking about, because part of the reason why I panicked, right, and why I filled out for the credit application was because I thought about how I was treated as a child. And this is what this whole video is about the economic divide in this country, where it's like there's like, we're on one planet, but there seems to be two totally different worlds that we're involved in. In one world, you know, people have this, because like I'm sitting there at his desk, and he has like a picture of his family up there, and all of his children and his wife together, and they all look so happy and so filled with abundance, and just, they look like they have money. You know, and I was thinking about how his children would never know what it feels like to sit down in a person's chair and not be able to get dental work. I guess number one, because their father's a dentist. But, you know, with him being a dentist, with him charging those type of prices, I know that he's well to do. You know, so his children would never have to face the discomforts that I had to face as a child, being treated like an animal because I was in the Bronx, or a poor neighborhood. You know, and his children would never have to go through what it was that I was going through that day with the internal conflict. It's like, on the one hand, do I go to a dentist that costs $3,300 to get this work done? Or do I go to a lesser dentist, which is going to be rough with me in the chair, maybe not give me all the local anesthesia that I need, or maybe not know what it is that they're doing and mess my mouth up even further. So it's like these two different worlds of the haves and the have-nots, where certain groups of people are able to go to the dentist or have their types of insurance. And that's another thing, how the people were fighting so hard against us being able to have universal health care. It's like, so that things like that, it's like there's this huge economic divide where certain people are afforded certain great privileged treatment. Because I can't imagine that anybody paying that type of money would have to be in a chair while someone is holding them down, and they cracking and pulling, extracting their teeth. I can't imagine that something like that will go on. So it's like, you either get subpar health care or subpar medical attention, or you have to pay out the wazoo to a place that doesn't even take insurance. And then when you look at the huge economic divide in this country, where we black people are starting with a 500-year listen, there are other people who have a 500-year head start over us. And so we're here. Look, I looked at the median income years ago. I looked at the median income for the average black person in this country. I have to I have to look at those stats again. But in 2007, they had the stats from, I believe, 2001 up. And oh gosh, I wish I had done my research before I did this video, but the median income for the average black household was like $8,000 per year. That includes from the highest to the lowest end. And for Caucasian people, it was like $60,000 per year average. And it's like, this huge divide. And now we know there are outliers who are making more and there are outliers who are making much less. But I was sitting there and I felt beleaguered. I felt beleaguered and I felt downtrodden, just realizing the reality of the fact that I would either have to pay some tremendous amount that I really don't have budgeted, that I'm not budgeted for, or have to go and get horrifying treatment. And so I made an appointment, and my appointment is for tomorrow, so I'm supposed to get the work done tomorrow. And did I tell you, when they took me out to the waiting room, they were like, that's going to be $115 for the 5 to 15 minutes that I was there. And I was like, I really wish that someone would have told me that just to get, slammed down into a chair and tossed out into the waiting room would have cost me $115. I might have made different decisions. So it's like, where are all of these people who can afford all of this stuff? And it's like, I don't know. I started feeling, and you know what, the thing about it is that I'm not the brokest person out there. You know what I mean? And it feels very defeating to be in a situation where there's something that I just really, really, really don't have the budget for. I just really don't have the budget for it. And so it's like, because and I've worked my life to make sure that I would not be broke, so that I could afford the things that I'd like to, and instead of saying I can't afford it, I use the terminology, how can I afford it, etc. But then sitting down in the chair and thinking about all that $3,300 could do for me, my life, and my business, to think about all of that going onto one tooth when I could just extract it, and then thinking about why the tooth was even in such disrepair in the first place, because I was treated like an animal as a child. So I'm like, I don't know. So I was like, here we are in this rich doctor's office in this rich neighborhood where people would never have to know what it feels like to be in the position that I'm in, with a 500-year reverse head start, where I just really don't have the money. And there was a part of me that just felt really inspired throughout all of this, because I'm like, you know what, we black people, we can't stop. Because nobody's looking around giving us any allowances. Nobody cares. So it's like we can't sit down continuing to cry about this. We just have to keep moving forward. We just have to keep working hard. We got to keep pushing on. Because you know what? If you think about where it is that we've come and how we've gotten to where it is that we are today, we've come a long way in 50 years from the time that we were getting holes down in the street. So I can't imagine what another 50 years will do for us. So I felt inspired, because I'm like, we just got to keep pushing on. We just got to keep working hard, because we're just 50 years out of Jim Crow. Just 50 years. 50 years ago, there would have been people outside ready to lynch me for owning this business. 50 years ago, I couldn't own this business. But here I am today, and I own it. And it's hard, because I don't have the resources to be able to get the type of service that I know that I deserve. And I know I deserve better than being treated like an animal. But then I sit here, and part of what's troubling me so much is because, no, I'm not the brokest person. I'm not. But what about all the other people who are broker than me? And that's what's troubling me. Because I think about all the other people, all of the other ones out there, because I have to make the decision about whether or not I can put $3,300 on my credit. For some people, $3,000 is enough to buy a car. And here these people are acting like it's nothing to spend that on a tooth. What about all the people? And then I think in context, because I got into these arguments on the internet about engagement rings. And people were like, $5,000 is a lot for an engagement ring. $5,000 is a lot for an engagement ring to some people, but then all of a sudden it's supposed to be normal to spend $3,300 on a tooth? And I'm like, what world are we living in? And then what world are we living in that the haves will try to remove access from the have-nots from healthcare? Because it's like, you cannot. What could I have done as a child if I needed dental attention? Not get it? What can I do now? Not get it? What about the people who are physically ill? What do you do when your body is physically ill and you don't have the money? What do? You have to find the money somewhere or die? When you think about those documentaries before the Universal Healthcare Act came around, and these documentaries where these people's insurance companies would give these loopholes to the people. I saw this one. I don't remember the name of it, but if you know the name, just write it below. Where the man had cancer, and they were like, oh, this is pre-existing, but it wasn't pre-existing or something, I don't remember, but his wife was going back and forth, and they were writing all these letters. By the end of the documentary, the man was dead. Never got the help that he needed, and he was dead. So it's like, here we are in this country where the haves are trying to separate the have-nots from resources that they've been separated from for hundreds of years. God, and it's like, in this country, there's no sympathy for you if you can't afford. And I'm like, what type of place is this? What type of place is this? And then I just, I've been calling all my associates, all my friends, and all my acquaintances, trying to figure out, calling just anybody and everybody, trying to figure out, where can I go to see a dentist with a loving hand, where I can get the care that I need for a price that I can manage. And I spoke to a friend of mine who gets his dental work done in Thailand. Let me tell you this really funny story before I go. He said he gets his dental work done in Thailand. He said he had gotten a root canal on one of his front teeth when he was a boy. He's from Brooklyn. Another person who was raised up in a poor neighborhood got a root canal done on one of his front teeth. My issues has always been my back teeth. My front teeth have always been good. So I didn't even know that people got root canals on front teeth. But anyway, so he said that he went and he got his x-rays done. And the Thai doctors were looking at his x-rays, and they were like, American dentist. And I'm like, oh, wow. So the work that you got done was subpar. And guess how much they charge for a root canal and a crown in Thailand? $500 for the whole thing. So it's like one person talking about you must be from the Middle Ages. Another glad for the $500. A flight to Thailand is $1,500. Plus the $500 for the tooth repair would be $2,000. I'd have an extra $1,300 to just throw up in the air, making it rain in Thailand for the same cost that it would cost me here in America. They're talking about we're in the wrong century. No, maybe we're in the wrong country. It's like more and more that I look around, I just don't really see how this country is suiting the needs of some of the people. And I'm like, I wonder what it is that we need to do. Because this ain't working for us. It ain't working for us. It's like, I don't want, I'm just, you know what, I'm not going to even bother to mention anything about reparations. I won't. It's pointless because it's a topic nobody wants to bring up and no one wants to broach. But it's like, here it is, we're at this great disadvantage with no help, no sympathy, and all we got are laughs being pushed out or treated like an animal. One last thing that I wanted to say before I go, to add insult to injury. After I left the dentist office, I was distressed. You know how you walk, you got so much on your mind, you just keep walking. By the time I finished walking, I'd already gone more than a mile just walking down the street before I saw my favorite restaurant, and I stopped in there to eat because that I could afford. But after I walked out of the dentist office and I looked at all of those rich fancy buildings and all of the people walking around with their little toy dogs and the rich area and all this other stuff, there was this man who walked past me and had the nerve to sexually harass me, to make some comments about my body. And I'm like, all these other women walking around here, all these other young ladies walking around here, all these other people coming back and forth, minding their own business just like me. You're going to let all of these people pass by you. But when I get close to you, you're going to say your disparaging remarks or your sexual remarks about my body. It's like I'm already feeling downtrodden because I done left this place because me and whatever it is about my genealogy has made it so that I don't have the money for this tooth. And then now here, this person further minimizing me and what it is that they perceive as my place or worth in this society. And you know what? I feel so much better now that I got that off my chest. I said everything that I wanted to say. I would love some of your thoughts below. I still don't know what to do. I still don't know what to do. I have this appointment. I have an appointment for this doctor tomorrow, but $3,000? I don't know what to do. It's like the way that things are set up in this country. I wish, you know what? The more and more, I'm just getting more and more tired of this. It's like, America's supposed to be the home of the free and the brave and the whole American dream. But not everybody's living this American dream. Not everybody. And you know what? I put up this thing yesterday. Which one would you think? With these two different views. It was I had an Asian man, a black man, and a white man. I was like, which one of these people do you think has XYZ? I put it up on Facebook. You can come look at that. Right? And so I'm like, there are some people out there who are Caucasian and they're very poor. Some of them are very, very poor and they don't have money, financial resources, etc. And some of them really complain about the fact that everybody thinks that white people are rich or whatever. And not all white people have money, right? But one thing that white people do have is they have the ability to fly under the radar so that people really don't know what it is that they do or don't have. Once they clean themselves up, they look just like everybody. But for a black person, for some reason, it really doesn't matter whether the black person has money or doesn't have money or whatever. You have to really come into contact with a black person and really have to hear them speak or see their demeanor or whatever to know whether or not they're educated or perhaps have some money or whatever. But there's all of these preconceived notions that come along with being black, so that I'm walking in this neighborhood and this person feels it's appropriate to sexually harass me, And I'm like, so when I go into a place, a person may automatically assume that I don't have money, or automatically assume that I'm such and such, or how they carted me out. I'm like, why did they cart me out like that? Just so many different things that were just swimming around in my mind. I'm like, was it the head wrap? Do they see the head wrap and they're like, oh, this young lady is militant. We can't have these militant people here or whatever. I really don't know. I don't know, but there are so many assumptions that come along with walking around in African American skin that you actually are not given the benefit of the doubt. As a Caucasian, whether you're rich or poor, whatever, you just wash yourself up. And in some of the richest Caucasian people you could see actually look very, very dirty. You see some of them with their dirty looking clothes and just because they don't really care because they got money, they got nothing to prove. But then a black person who feels that they have so much. Okay, so that may be my sign that I need to go. But then I'll just finish on this point. You know, like a black person who, the poorest of the poor, feels that they have so much to prove that they go and spend money on things that they really don't have just to be able to fit into a certain status quo, because they're not given the benefit of the doubt if they look dirty. They're not given the benefit of the doubt if they don't speak properly. You know, I talk about the times that I was almost arrested. If I were not able to speak in clear, succinct English, what would have happened to me? You know, because they rounded me up, because I guess they, look, let me go. But I would love your thoughts below. I'm interested in all feedback. Getting this off my chest really, it alleviated something in me that I can't even explain. That's crazy, right? That stuff is the capsicum in my throat. Come, let me see your bloody looking hand. Come put your hand in the out.
Right now I'm feeling too nervous. Okay?
Why are you feeling nervous?
Because I made a mess and
No, let's see your bloody hand. Look, show your bloody hand in the camera. It looks like blood. It looks like blood. Listen, you know, accidents happen. It's okay. Don't you worry about that. Listen, I got a tooth that cost $3,500 that needs to get repaired. Don't you worry about the little bit of oil. We'll work that out. We'll work it out. Don't you worry. But anyway, listen. So listen, I'm gonna get out of here. You know, the capsicum is this. The capsicum is amazing. That's what gives the heat to peppers, and we use that in the shampoo to help activate the follicles of the scalp, to help your hair grow, etc. So the capsicum is amazing. That's one of my favorite, and it's such a, you know, a little goes such a long way. It's such a sad day to see so much of it spilled on the floor. I wish I could show you more. Oh, poor thing. You should have seen how much was down there before, but it looks like blood. Like when you come, show the bloody paper, show the bloody paper. Look at how it looks like blood. It's crazy. Move that from me. Stop it. Craziness. Oh gosh, that's crazy. Capsicum is one of my favorite, and you can put it in your food, give spice. Capsicum is what controls the heat of peppers. So when you have the pure extract, it's amazing. It's amazing. So it's too bad so much of it is gone, but it can like get into it, like the smell of it gets inside your throat. How are you feeling?
Fine.
But you know, you're Trini, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. She's Trini, so she likes the heat anyway. So so I know that's not gonna bother her throat. So anyway, listen, I'm out of here. Listen, my website right here, TanyaTKO.com. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. It's Tanya TKO all over the net. And that's Tanya with an O, Tony. Let's hug before I go. I love you all very, very much. Don't worry about anything. And if you ever have something that is on your chest, it may help to get it off and talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. I feel tremendously lighter after getting that off my chest. I still have the same problem. So, you know, we'll see what I'm going to have to do about that. But I feel better nonetheless, you know, and so I'll go from there. So go out there and love each other. But most importantly, what? Love yourself. And just take it one day at a time. Take it one day at a time. Life is not perfect for anybody. For you, for me, for anybody. Even those people who I thought have it so good, all the rich people walking around in that neighborhood yesterday, even they might not have the same problems that I do, but no, every human life has trials and tribulations. I was going to say nobody makes it out of this life alive, but that goes without saying. But anyway, let me get out of here. Tanya TKO, and I'm out. Peace.